here. Welcome and happy Thursday. I am Mary from marysheirloomseeds.com and welcome to our weekly live chat. I completely missed you guys last week. It was absolutely crazy, and unfortunately it's still a little crazy, but we're working with you, and I really missed our live chat. So I'll give you all a couple minutes to get settled. Grab a seat, grab something comfy to sit on. I'm sitting on a bucket today in the garden, so it's not as comfortable, but it works for me. So if you can see me, say hey, welcome. For those of you just joining me, welcome. And for those of you that join me weekly, welcome back. So in the description section of this video today, you will find a couple things. You'll find links to different videos that I have made. You'll find links to our website, marysheirloomseeds.com. And today is, just like the title says, Garden Q&A. So if you've got your questions, I'm happy to answer them. If you have trouble seeing me, please give me a heads up. Hey, welcome and thanks for joining us. So I get a lot of questions in an email, in voicemails, in all kinds of things for customers that are looking for best things to grow, when to grow, what to grow. Alan's stuck in traffic. Oh man, I'm sorry. One of the things I really enjoy about our new property, hey Kathy, thanks for joining us. One of the things I really love about this place is there's really no traffic. Doc and I kind of joke when there's like 3 people at a stoplight. He goes, oh, it's, daytime traffic in Ben Wheeler, or major traffic. Hey, David, thanks for joining us and welcome. So behind me here, you've got some awesome garlic. I'll be sharing about how we harvest our garlic and how we preserve our garlic in a later video. I'm gonna, hey, our tiny acres, thanks for joining us. So today the topic is garden Q&A. I mean, if you've got questions, I'm happy to help. There may not be a lot of questions because honestly, I'm pretty available on a regular basis. Hey, Sandra, thanks for joining us. I'm pretty much available in an email or like I said, in private messaging. People normally just ask their questions on a regular basis, but if there's something in particular that you've got questions with, I'm happy to help. I'll be honest with you. I almost didn't go live today. We've got all sorts of stuff going on, but we've got some good news. So kind of a silver lining to my rough week this week. We are back to shipping orders out in 7 days or less, which whew, it was rough work, but it was good. I'm excited. I'm definitely not explaining. Sandra says, you're my people. I lived in Florida for 15 years. Oh, goodness. So Sandra, my husband Doc lived in South Florida for 15 years. I lived there for about 8.5, almost 9. Sorry. I grew up in Southern California. And now I'm in East Texas. So I have lived in different places and I've grown in different places, and I get lots of questions about what to grow and when to grow. And because I have kind of a range of experience on different climates, people ask a lot of questions. So welcome. You're in Southern California and I'm in East Texas. I was just having a conversation with someone who moved to Tennessee from Southern California, and it was somebody that grew up in our family, and he loves it. It's beautiful. I am super thrilled to have this available to me in our new property. So for those of you who haven't seen kind of our story, if you don't have any questions, please, if you do have questions, ask. But I'll just kind of ramble on for a little bit and you can enjoy part of this. So last year in June of 2021, Mary's Heirloom Seeds packed up all of our gear in a big old truck. Hey, Christine, one of my favorite people from KNC Worm Farm is joining us here. Welcome, Christine. So we packed up all of our goodies. We packed up our seed shop. and we moved to East Texas. And I will say this, we have been here now 10 months. David says 70 Maryland here, mostly 60 to 70 degrees. You notice I'm in a tank top today? I was in sweaters and jackets. I was just looking at some of the last videos I did, and I'm in my big down jacket. It's the first big jacket I've owned as an adult. I know that sounds silly, but having lived in warmer climates and then coming here to East Texas was definitely a completely different experience, and I will say an adventure, an amazing adventure. So here we are. We've been here 10 months now. It's April. We moved here in June. We have managed to, Christine says, so jealous it snowed here again. I know you're in New York. In 10 months, we have managed to take a 1,600 square foot shop that was used just open, no AC, no heat, no nothing. It wasn't even, what do you call it? There was no insulation. So in 10 months, we've managed to take this giant shop and we've built it out to our seed shop. So now I walk to work. I actually walked to work in the snow once this year, which was kind of fun. And we have created this food garden, these seed starting and seed videos that we're going to be sharing a couple more with you this year. I've got some pallets here. Hey Christian, thanks for joining us. We've got pallets here on the side of the shop that I hopefully, fingers crossed, will be building another compost bin and make a video of it. So for right now, we're still using some buckets and some piles. So behind me here, I wanted to show you the most recent addition at Mary's Heirloom Seeds. We've added on to one of our gardens. I typically do my videos in the larger garden, and we do have some smaller gardens on the property specific for seeds, so we keep them isolated. That was one of the questions that I wanted to talk to you about tonight. Customer asked that, she said, we have some videos on pollination, but we don't have specific videos on cross-pollination. So I will be working a little bit on that, but I'm going to kind of take you with me here. We're going to show you just a little bit. So we added on another 300 plus square feet to this specific garden. And in the corner there are some posts. So I'm going to sit back down and enjoy. This weather is amazing. I'm really excited about it. So those posts back there are for a deer fence. David says help the bees and pollinators plant native wildflowers. We definitely will be. But if you notice that I pointed out to you there, we've got some posts going up. We are, not me personally, we hired an amazing guy to help me out because I don't know enough about fencing to make it effective. So in a lot of cases, you want to kind of do it or wing it. Robert says it's a little fuzzy. I apologize if it's a little fuzzy to you guys. Let me see. Please let me know if it's fuzzy to you or if you can still see me. So we hired somebody to do the fence for me because he doesn't know necessarily about heirlooms and I don't necessarily know about fencing. So I hired somebody that knows a lot more about it than I do so that we do get a proper fence built. In the meantime, over here, I'm totally exposed. So I don't know if we've got hogs or deers that might come out from our wildlife here. We've got the acreage to the back side of us. We're gonna leave completely natural and native. So David mentioned, okay, our tiny acre says looks fine here, awesome. So we are going to leave a big chunk of the acreage here wild. I'm looking over in the distance here. We've got goldenrod going up all over the place. We've got clover going up all over the place. We've got plains coreopsis or coreopsis, different varieties of coreopsis going up all over the place. We've got Texas dandelions all over the place. I definitely will not be cutting down any of this wildlife. So part of that area, kind of off on a tangent, we've got that big area that the fence is going to go up, and we talked about taking down some of the trees, maybe expanding in this portion, and we really felt that leaving the natural property as natural as possible would be the best. So that's what we're going to do. So we have built some raised beds. We have mounded up our garlic, and I'm pretty excited. The 2022 garden season is going to be phenomenal. It is already off to a great start. We've got, like I mentioned earlier, we've got a couple different areas along the property that we have added specifically to save old seeds, specifically to maybe bring them back to life. There are a couple varieties that you can't get, you'd say commercially, but you can't necessarily find them in mass-produced places. So we are going to be growing some of those specifically for our customers, so that you can get some more old varieties, some more heritage heirloom varieties. We had a question from a customer that asked specifically, how do you fertilize your garden? Or what do you fertilize with? And that really is going to depend on what you're growing. So we got Christine here from KNC Worm Farm. Little shout out to you ladies. I use their worm tea, and I've mentioned their products in previous videos, and I hope to create a video very, very soon. Sometimes I say, well, you know, maybe when life slows down, I'll do this or I'll do that. And unfortunately, life isn't slowing down right now. But we're going to do what we can. So first things we do is we use Mountain Flower Compost Tea as a liquid fertilizer. We make our worm castings tea specifically from KNC Worm Farm's tea bags. They actually sell a bag of worm castings that you can make your own tea from. Every one of my raised beds has Mountain Flower Root Boost in it. And we don't use heavy duty stuff. So on that note, I had a customer say, well, you know, I'm growing this bean or whatever it was, and he said he's using a 10-30-10 fertilizer. And I thought to myself, well, the reason that you have massive amounts of greenery and no fruit coming from that is because you're overdosing your plants on fertilizer. If you create a healthy soil, you don't have to use these mega fertilizers that could potentially destroy your water, and more importantly, you're overdosing. So just like, I mean, vitamins are good for you, but too much vitamins might make you sick. Water is great for you, but too much water can make you sick. The same is the case with your fertilizers. So that is one of my Q&As for the day is what fertilizers do you use? So you can find all this at marysheirloomseeds.com, or you can visit the amazing ladies at KNC Worm Farm, and you can check out some of their worm tea products. They are awesome. And like I said, stay tuned. I will have a video on that. The next video I hope to, fingers crossed, do this weekend is going to be our pallet compost bins. I'm going to make a 3. I'm going to start with a 2, and then hopefully add a 3 so that we've got different types of additions for your compost that will be good for you. The next question in my Q&A is, how do I know what type of corn to plant? So that was our topic of the day today on Facebook. Today is April 28th. It's Thursday. For those of you just joining me, I'm Mary at Mary's Heirloom Seeds. And if you get a chance, if you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel and hit that like button for our video. So the question was, how do I know what type of corn to plant? Now, there are a lot of different corn varieties. We only carry heirloom corn varieties. So you're not going to find hybrid varieties, and you're not going to find genetically modified GMO varieties. These are all heirlooms. These are all ones that you can save the seeds from. They're also beautiful bumblebee going by. They're also open pollinated, but corn is wind pollinated. So if you're going to plant multiple varieties, you're going to have to plan ahead and plant accordingly so that they don't cross pollinate. And that takes a lot of space. So if you have a small garden, your best bet is to choose one variety to grow, one specific variety to grow if you want to save your seeds. Now, on that note is, what do you want to grow? So do you want to grow popcorn? Do you want to grow a sweet corn, like a corn on the cob you buy from the store? Sorry, I hear critters and it freaks me out. my fence is gone now, so I got to look out for critters. So if you want sweet corn, like you would get corn on the cob from the store, that is the variety you want to plant. If you want to grow for cornmeal, or you want to go for animal feed, dent corn or field corn is what you might want to plant. Popcorn, I mentioned earlier, glass gem corn is my absolute favorite. On my YouTube channel, we've got 3 videos. One is how to grow it and harvest it. One is, one is how to grow it, one is how to harvest it, and one is how to pop it. So you've got 3 videos. You can use that for any popcorn. It doesn't have to be glass gem corn, but it's a good way to start. It's a good place to start anyway. And in the popping video, you'll see my nephew and my niece, Eli and Lily, and they popped the corn with me, and it was a lot of fun. Anybody else have any questions? Yeah, popping corn. It is fun, and it's super easy to grow. Popcorn is probably one of my favorites because you just let it dry on the vine or dry on the stalk, pull it out, let it dry, and pop it. So it's pretty simple stuff. Shirley says, hey, you bought a pear tree today. Well, congratulations. We have added pear trees, and we have added peach trees to the property since we moved here. There were 2 pears on the property, and I learned something new, that pears need 2 different types of pears usually to cross-pollinate so that you get productive pears. So I learned something new. Now we have 4 pears on the property. 2 are already here and 2 I added. And that way, hopefully we have a good amount. I didn't know what type of pears, so I had to kind of wing it as far as that goes. What zone do you grow in? Apples are the same. We are zone 8. I think zone 8A. I'm not 100% sure. But I'm pretty sure it's 8A. We used to be 9A, and now we're 8A. So Shirley, I should add a little asterisk to that. I'm not 100% sure that all pear trees need that, but the pear trees that I identified on our property needed another one to cross-pollinate. Oops, sorry, I'm missing your comments here. David said, my grandpa said that for smaller gardens of corn, you would take a paper bag out of the tassels and shake the pollen in the bag, then onto the silk of them. Okay, so because corn is wind pollinated, that is why you would do that. You would use a paper bag and the tassels. My suggestion is, instead of planting rows of corn, if you have a small area, say for example, you were going to plant corn in that square area that I have my garlic growing, you would want to grow corn in squares, or what I call sometimes bunches. Because sometimes you plant a square and you got squirrels and rabbits and everything else. Sometimes they get eaten. Sometimes they get moved around by the rain. So my suggestion would be to grow in clumps. So plan a square of corn. That way you have much better pollination. And if you end up with corn that's missing kernels in the ear, that is a sure sign of a lack of pollination, because each one of those little strings that comes out of the ear of corn is, from what I understand, goes down into that kernel and has to pollinate that kernel. So that's why the paper bag would work. But you can also just plan for planting them closer together. So you wouldn't want to do rows here. You would want to plant them closely together. Let me answer some more questions here. Shirley says, I didn't know that. Alan says, does horse manure have to be composted? Absolutely. One of the questions somebody said, actually somebody commented on my horse manure page. Christian, I do not use dolomite for my soil for extra calcium. We typically just use compost and just the mountain flower root boost, and I haven't had any issues. But the compost we use is really well-rounded, and everything that comes out of the kitchen that can go in the compost goes into the compost. So that's important. Alan asked about horse manure. Number one, you never want to use horse manure immediately. And number two, somebody said, well, great. The horse feed is contaminated with herbicides, and great, you've just contaminated your entire garden. That's false. If you know where your horse manure is coming from, hey, thanks, Julia. Thanks for sharing and liking. If you know where your horse manure is coming from, for example, if you know what you're feeding your horse, you know what's going into your manure. If you're picking up manure from the side of the road, or if you're picking up manure from a neighbor's house and you don't know where it's coming from, then yes, you could potentially be contaminating your garden. So I did want to clarify that. If you don't know where your manure is coming from, ask those questions. I don't like using things in my garden that I don't know where it came from. Sorry, this sun is right in my eyeballs. And I'm going to see if I can scoot over here. There we go. If you don't know what you're using in your garden, you could be potentially contaminating your garden. So absolutely find out where it's coming from and what it is. But definitely compost your manure. I've got a couple videos about how to use manure and get the scoop on poop, I think is what it's called. Goat manure can sometimes be used immediately in the garden. Some people prefer to compost it. But it's my understanding that rabbit manure is one of the only true cold manures that you can just literally dump in your garden and use it immediately. But just like I mentioned earlier, anything in excess can cause problems. Just think about that. Christian says, must be pretty temperate in Central Texas. I'm getting a tan here in Southeast Texas. We're in East Texas, and it's warm. It's 80 degrees here. I'm in a tank top, and I am warm, but I'm trying to stay under the shade here because it gets really warm. Oh, hey, Spartacus. Awesome. So another Q&A question. Spartacus sent me an email. You said that your son really liked, I'm sorry if I'm getting this incorrect, but correct me if I'm wrong. You said your son really liked the wax beans. And it was a specific wax bean, a yellow wax bean that we carry. And you thought maybe it was out of stock, but we carry it. So I'm so glad that you were able to find it. We have so many different beans. It is amazing. And the amount of beans I have planted this year is amazing. Julia says, I heard that alpaca manure was also safe to throw down without having to compost. That is a good question. I would love to have alpacas here on our property. But I don't think Doc's going to go for it yet without getting more acreage. So Doc's watching this video. Doc, if you're here, if you're seeing this, I want alpacas. I have heard that alpaca manure is fantastic for the garden as well. And I believe it is a cold or colder manure. So it is something that you can use in your garden sooner. Let's see if I can pick you up and maybe show you some of what we got going. You heard alpaca is not warm poop. Yeah, I believe it is considered a cold manure, but I'm getting roasted here in the sun. It's 5 o'clock and it's warm. I'm so excited. I really like warm weather. I'm really excited that we finally have some warm weather and our gardens are thriving. So I'm going to show you here. What have we got here down there? So we just planted these 5 days ago. That is Caserta zucchini. We've got, I'm looking at the garden here just to show you something here. See what we got here going. See if you can see it. We've got different beds over here of, those are peppers. That one is a half empty bed because I'm planting in that this weekend. We've got more peppers. We've got peas. We've got radish. We've got lettuce. Let me see. I'm looking at here. We've got squash. We've got herbs galore. We have so many herbs planted in this garden. I'm really excited. Anyway, so anybody else have any questions before I head out for the day? I do try to keep on topic today, but I felt like kind of rambling. Why not, right? If you got questions, I'm happy to help. One of the things that we did, we started Mary's Heirloom Seeds with a desire to help you grow a healthy garden. And that's literally what I spend 14 hours a day-ish. Right now, it's a little crazy. I'm in the seed shop about 12 to 14 hours a day, getting your seed orders out. David says garden beds are looking great. I appreciate it. Thanks. Next week, I'm going to try and show you the other side over here. Julia says northern Minnesota is still waiting for all the snow to melt away. Soil still waterlogged. Looking forward for spring. How do you stay youthful living in the South? Are you totally vegan? Christian, I am not vegan. I'm not even vegetarian. I like all sorts of food. I do try and stay out of the sun a little bit, so I do wear like hats, long sleeves. I'd rather sweat my behind off and wear long sleeves in the garden sometimes. Woo. That was a giant wasp trying to come get me. I'd rather sweat my behind off and wear long sleeve shirts than get burned out in the sun. Kathy says, can I use goat manure straight into the garden? So that is a good question, and that is something I have been asked before. I personally prefer to compost it for 3 months. Your best bet, if you can, is take that goat manure and work it into your garden 3 months before you plant. And then there really isn't a composting time. It's just you've worked it into the garden and you've allowed it to naturally compost. So just keep that in mind. I definitely would not use it. I wouldn't use it straight into the garden. That's just from what I've read. It's just not it's not completely cold like rabbit poop is. I'm super excited for these garlics, by the way. I know I've shared you the garlic a bunch of times already. See that up there? Brand new garden space. I'm super excited about the garlic harvest. I've been teaching a couple people about how garlic grows, and they're like shocked that it grows from a bulb, not a seed. So there's some other tubers that you can do, like potatoes and Jerusalem artichoke. That's a really good one. I'm starting Jerusalem artichokes this week. I'm starting potatoes this week. I'm planting more sweet potatoes this week. So there's a lot going on here. And Hog says, garlic I got from you is growing wonderfully. Woohoo! That is awesome. I love garlic. Can't get enough of it. Kristen says, got lots of wild onions growing in my yard. It's crazy. Somehow, East Texas just greened up in 2 weeks' time. It was amazing. It went from, this whole area went from brown to green. Our Tiny Acre says, do you sell Jerusalem artichokes? We do not sell Jerusalem artichokes at this time. Jerusalem artichokes are sold as a tuber, not a seed, similar to potatoes, similar to garlic, and there is a specific time frame for them. So when we're a little more established here, I will have pounds and pounds and pounds of different crops available to send to you when they are in season, which means when I collect them and produce them, I'll be able to share them with you. Like I mentioned earlier, we've been here for 10 months now, and our garden is already thriving. We did produce a garden last year, an amazing garden, and then we expanded this year. So Jerusalem artichokes are next on the list for things that will be available here at marysheirloomseeds.com. If you haven't signed up for our email list, I highly recommend you do so. In the description section of this video, you will find a link to sign up for our email list. And we don't sell your information. We just send you emails that are relevant to Mary's Heirloom Seeds, like when we have new arrivals, or when ship times change, or when we have certain things available like garlic. So speaking of garlic, July is normally the time that we offer pre-orders, and then we don't ship out till October. So that's definitely something to consider for the future. Christian says, got any melons in that new area over there? we have planted melon seeds. We've also planted Seminole pumpkin. I've planted, I can't even list all of the amazingness that we planted. Some of the more old varieties of melons, like the Queen Anne's pocket melon. Probably one of my favorites is the Rocky Ford honeydew melon. I love honeydew, so that's definitely one that we've growing. Over here, I'm just looking at it here. We've got the jumbo pink squash. Love it. So amazing and so excited. Thanks, Christian. We appreciate it. I do work really hard, but so does Doc. He puts in a lot of hours as well. So, all right. So I'm going to sign off. It's Thursday night. I hope you've enjoyed our live chat. We had a couple Q&As. If you've got an email you want to send, you can send it to mary@marysheirloomseeds.com. As someone had said earlier today that they sent me an email and I responded right away and they were able to find what they were looking for. And if you don't want to comment on our YouTube videos, you can always send the email. If you haven't signed up for our email list, definitely do so as soon as possible. We will be sending out a giveaway email on May 1st, as well as our May seed sale. Alrighty, everybody. I'm Mary at Mary's Heirloom Seeds signing off. I hope you have an amazing weekend and happy planting.